Creative Pro Wrestling fans, I am longtime independent wrestling fan Robert. Monumental moment was quite a historic event from All Sports in Melville, New York. Well, I remember arriving at the building. It was like between 6:30 and 7 with Jessica and her sister Leanne, and our friends Lauren and Sam were already in line. So they were already in position in line, but it was still quite an ordeal to get everybody in the building. By the time we finally got into the hockey rink, you know, there were so many people sitting in front rows that we didn't see five front rows together. See, five front row seats together, right? Now Jessica paid for five front row seats, but with people, you know, sitting in the front row before us, if we tried to tell them if they could move over, they probably would have been rude and bitch to us, and we even Jessica trying to talk to Brian Myers about it, and he said there's nothing they could do. I think maybe from this point on, Creative Pro Wrestling, perhaps it'd be best to, when you have the names of the people who bought tickets online, why can't you just, take the write on paper, take paper with write down the names of the people, not just on a big list as they come in, write down on paper and like scotch tape them to the seats. That way everybody knows everybody will sit. Unfortunately, we had to sit near the back so all five of us could sit down. For Creative Pro Wrestling, I hope in the future you you do that. Can just post the names of those who bought online on all the seats. That way nobody gets bamboozled, so to speak. Another thing I want to address, considering this show was sold out 2 days before it even happened, and knowing they were expecting a huge crowd, I knew there were going to be many people in the crowd who were going to be stuck having to watch the shows on their feet. I don't know if I'm sure all sports in Melville, renting that place doesn't come cheap. I don't know if you could possibly find a bigger building with more room for parked cars, and maybe even, or another place, a bigger place at All Sports that could that one has, more space for parking, as well as like a bigger place than All Sports that's close to a train station. Damn. And also, I guess because of the lengthy crowd that came in the building, the show was supposed to start at 7:30, didn't start until 8, and it didn't end until after 11 p.m. Now that that's out of the way, here's the results of the show. We started out with the verdict. Bryce Donovan and VSK are covered in the ring by Smart Mark Sterling in a return bout from I Love to Fight back in March against Aaron Ortiz and Anthony Vecchio, the Shooter Boys. And this was one hot opening matchup, and the crowd was like eating out of their hands. Even a "This is awesome" chant broke out. The Shooter Boys ended up defeating the verdict at 13 minutes 24 seconds to win back the tag team championship. Now the Shooter Boys are on top again. Who's to say what's next? Up next was the King, what has become a tradition, the King of Cap Battle Royal. Participants in this one were Silver Sniper TJ Crawford, the Karaoke Crooner CPA. Yeah, the Karaoke Crooner CPA, Joey Bacabella, Rocketboy Nick Robles, the current TV champion, the leading man Jack Tomlinson, Bobby Cassell, Dante Drago is the best, Evil Kip, Cliff Marshall, TK Wild, the Sweeper Eddie Prevetti. Might have missed somebody, but eventually it seemingly boiled down to Robles and Crawford, but Crawford got eliminated. But Sidney Bacabella, I guess he was, I don't know, hiding under the ring all that time. I don't know where he went, but he tossed Robles to win. Sidney Bacabella won the King of Cap Battle Royal, presented with a crown, a robe, and that match went 10 minutes, 52 seconds, and Bacabella coming out to Bad Leroy Brown, but of course they dubbed Sidney Bacabella in the whenever they say Leroy Brown. Up next was the Monsters Ball as the Dominican destroyer Vargas. Two men he had two men come out. They had their Dominican flag painted on their faces, and they had literally Dominican flag. Funny thing is, Abyss's music started, and then you hear Vargas' theme. Vargas took on Azure in a hectic, wild match that brought out chairs, doors, thumbtacks. At one point, I don't know what kind of book Azure had. He tore the pages out. He took the end of it and rubbed it against either Vargas's toes or his foot. I actually forgot how this one ended, but Azure defeats Vargas in Monsters Ball at 22 minutes, 24 seconds. But then, two men in white masks and white pants come out with a white body bag. They try to put Vargas in it, but Vargas sat up, and then Azure and the two men, they just got out of the ring. From there, we saw past beating the present as the Nomi Gabby Forza did battle with Chris Statlander in a great women's matchup. Chris Statlander defeated Gabby Forza at 13 minutes, 43 seconds. Then from there, out comes two-time former AEW World Champion MJF, and he's doing a promo about his open challenge, but is not only interrupted, but pretty much got his challenge answered by Platinum Max Caster. They both freestyle rap towards each other. Then the match was on, and I forgot the exact ending, but MJF defeated Platinum Max Caster at 11 minutes, 59 seconds to pick up the victory. Up next was a mixed tag team match, and we saw women's champion Latina Spice Nat Castle and Mayhem medal holder Sebastian Amor do battle with the System from TNA, Alicia, and Eddie Edwards. Good match. These two teams had Alicia and Eddie Edwards defeated Nat Castle and Sebastian Amor at 7 minutes, 41 seconds to pick up the victory. And this is now 2 shows in a row that Nat Castle has not defended a women's championship. From there, it was what I thought was going to go on last and be the main event. We ended up seeing a fatal 4-way match as we saw the System, Cedric Alexander versus Bobby Orlando versus Frankie Kazarian versus the King of KO, the Son of the Sun, Leo Sparrow for the heavyweight championship. Good match these guys had, and eventually Bobby Orlando pinned, I forgot who he pinned, but it was Bobby Orlando defeated Cedric Alexander, Frankie Kazarian, and Leo Sparrow to win back the heavyweight championship that Orlando only lost the belt to Sparrow back at Brawloween in early November. So by doing the math, Leo Sparrow was champion for exactly 6 months. And then the final match that came out, we saw TNA star Nick Nemeth do battle with the System's a certain wrestler from Long Island, New York, known as Bear Bronson. At one point in the match, somebody bumped into the referee. The Verdict, VSK, and Bryce Donovan come out. They attack Bear, and Nemeth is trying to direct traffic, but then out came from the System Eddie Edwards, Cedric Alexander, and Brian Myers, and attacked Bryce and VSK, chasing them away from the ring. Eventually, I forgot how, but Bear Bronson defeated Nick Nemeth at 22 minutes, 46 seconds to end one heck of a night. And much like Brawloween back in November, second Melville show in a row without intermission. Personal note, it was to my shock and surprise, Matt from Pro Wrestling Magic, Elliot noticed us, and he took a picture of me along with Jessica and Leanne. I know Joey in the wheelchair was there, and Who else I really noticed? I mean, it was just a heck of a crowd and such. I guess Matt Stryker was supposed to commentate the show. I guess he didn't make it. Couldn't make this one for some reason. Well, no return date was announced for Creative Pro's next event. I'm guessing they're just going to let the hype die down from this one. And I'll say this very event will be a tough act to follow. I mean, I don't know. I mean, being that the month of May just started, I mean, I don't know, because normally in mid to late July, Creative Pro Wrestling would run in Lynbrook at the Knights of Columbus. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do go back to Lynbrook in July. I wouldn't be surprised we would get the sequel. We would get. Hold that thought, folks. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if July ends up being that sequel I'm hoping for. You know, concerning this. Knowing at the show where where they had, like, every match was a gimmick match last July. You know, it was like one of the longest show titles in history. This is Bobby Orlando Super Duper Jamboree. It was a mouthful and a half, and I don't think anyone would ever try to say it 3 times fast. And, you know, MJF, $100 for a picture. Unreal. Well, I will, even though there's no return date announced yet, but I would like to see at the next show, perhaps The Verdict, Bryce Dobb and VSK to battle with Bear Bronson and perhaps Gabby Forza, the Savage Gnomes, unless Bear ends up with another partner. Dang, it'd be interesting to see where everything goes from here. I mean, of course, originally the main event for this show was going to be Nick Nemeth against MJF until TNA intervened. Ooh. Oh, before the show, I went to eat at Sweet Hollow Diner on Broad Hollow Road. It's like a 5-minute drive to and from All Sports from that diner. And Brian Myers, I don't know if you would consider, like, maybe talking to even though this show here was sold out, like, see if you can hang flyers on at their business, because I'm sure a diner gets business every day. Okay, la 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 la. And by the way, that diner got some good pancakes. Okay. I mean, due to the fact it was a Friday and there was traffic, you know, we wound up showing up later than expected at that diner for me to meet Jessica and Leanne. I forgot to mention, it was good seeing Sam and Lauren with us. Oh, also good seeing Bobby. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but I'm not going to spell it out. Mother. Well, now Bobby Orlando on top. I don't know if we're going to have Orlando and Sparrow one-on-one one more time. And what else can I say about this? I mean, it was obviously a great crowd, and yeah, they had bleachers up there. Oh. Well, Eric James wasn't on the show. Damn it. Mm. Yeah, my head. My uncle drove me out to the show, and problem here is, I mean, because the show ended up, my uncle had to get his vehicle inspected. If he failed inspection, he wouldn't be able to drive me, and and I knew he was tired, so that's why I didn't go eat at Applebee's with Jessica, Leanne, and Trish. Wish I could have. They would have done this video with me. Yeah, Creative Pro Wrestling. You had a great, awesome event, and I'm sure it's gonna be a while before the hype dies down for this. Unless I'm mistaken, Johnny Clash commentated the show by himself, unless somebody joined him for some matches. Uh, oh yeah, I forgot Joey Bacabella. I think he got eliminated first from the Battle Royal, and hmm, Rocker Boy Nick Robles. Not to sound like Christopher Walken, but I gotta have more cowbell. All right, this will do. CAP, 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 CAP.